The first 6 months of 2026 had some pretty exciting historical films getting released like Wuthering Heights and Peaky Blinders: The Immortal Man. But there are also many lesser known historical films that also got released between January and June of 2026. And in this video, I will be giving you my recommendations of the top 10 historical movies released during this time period, many of which you will not have heard of before. But before we begin, don't forget, if you love anything to do with historical movies and historical TV shows, then subscribe to my channel History Spark. At number 10, it is Tamerlane: Rise of the Last Conqueror, a medieval film about one of history's most fearsome and overlooked conquerors. And this historical film got released in April of this year. This medieval movie tells the amazing story of Timur, or Tamerlane as he's better known in the West, who returns from exile and finds the Mongol Empire crumbling around him. And this movie depicts the story of how he capitalizes on this chaos to forge the mighty Timurid Empire. Tamerlane: Rise of the Last Conqueror has been praised for its cinematography, production design, and set pieces, but in my opinion the plot here is pretty weak and poorly paced with some pretty underdeveloped characters outside of Timur. But medieval movies are a rarity, and I for one am really glad to see an epic film get released about a little known historical figure, and I hope we will get more stories like Timur's on the big screen in the future as well. At number 9, it is Emerald Fennell's 2026 adaptation of Wuthering Heights, a visually breathtaking reimagining of Emily Brant's classic novel. This period drama depicts the turbulent love story between Heathcliff and Catherine Earnshaw, which triggers a bitter, multi-generational campaign of revenge against two land-owning families. Wuthering Heights stars Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi as the iconic tortured lovers, and they both are pretty decent in their roles, but neither of them really put in an award-winning performance either. This film feels pretty shallow overall, especially when you compare it to other depictions of the novel, and a lot of fans found this film's pacing to be very uneven and hard to follow. But I do think for any fans of the Wuthering Heights books, you will really enjoy this film, and for anyone who has never read the novel, you could probably give it a miss. At number 8, it is Border 2, a sequel to the 1997 Bollywood movie Border, and this film is set during the 1971 Indo-Pak War, and it follows 3 close friends who are abruptly called away from a wedding to serve in the Indian Army. The performances of Diljit Dosanjh and Sunny Deol were the real standouts here, and all the primary characters of this film were pretty well established, and they build a real emotional connection with the viewer as well. But this movie is really long, with a runtime of over 3 hours, and the visual effects are actually pretty bad for a 2026 film, and I'm surprised a movie of this caliber and budget had such poorly shot cinematography and production design. But if you love war epics and Bollywood movies, then you should definitely check out Border 2. At number 7, it is The Death of Robin Hood, a dark, revisionist reimagining of the classic English legend. And this medieval film has Hugh Jackman starring as an old and weary and unapologetically brutal version of the outlaw. The Death of Robin Hood is a visually stunning film. The acting of Hugh Jackman and Jodie Comer were pretty decent, and the action sequences were pretty good as well. But the pacing of this movie is atrocious, and outside the fact that the main character possesses the name Robin Hood, literally nothing else that represents the English folklore hero in any way or form. But I do think that this is a great one-time watch, and I can highly recommend it as a great movie to stream whenever you get the chance. At number 6, it is Lucky Strike, a World War II survival thriller that follows a lone wolf mission set against the backdrop of the Battle of the Bulge, with the film starring Scott Eastwood as an injured and isolated US Army captain attempting to navigate 19 miles of treacherous enemy-filled territory with only a trusty portable radio to guide him. This film has amazing one-shot sequences which I'm a huge fan of, and Lucky Strike nails this advanced camera technique perfectly, and the acting throughout the entire film is brilliant as well. The movie does a great job of building suspension, but there's hardly any character development, and there are some pretty obvious plot holes that can't be ignored scattered throughout the movie as well. But overall, Lucky Strike is a really interesting war movie, and it will greatly appeal to anyone that has any sort of interest in World War II. At number 5, it is A Great Awakening, a historical drama from Sight and Sound Films that explores the unexpected 30-year friendship between the deeply secular founding father Benjamin Franklin and the fervent English evangelist Reverend George Whitefield. This film has John Paul Sneed starring as a weary Benjamin Franklin, and he does an outstanding job of bringing his character to life. And alongside excellent costume design and production quality, A Great Awakening also has a pretty interesting and unique plot. The movie falls short in terms of its dialogue, and it has a really wooden secondary cast that brings down the realism of the film tremendously. But overall, for a pretty low budget film, I can honestly say A Great Awakening is a pretty good period drama that any viewer of this channel will pretty much enjoy. At number 4, it is Der Tiger, also known as The Tank, an epic German World War II thriller that takes viewers on a troublesome anti-war journey set in the heart of the Eastern Front. This war film has David Schwimmer starring as Lieutenant Philip Gherkins, a charismatic but troubled German tank commander who, after a harrowing retreat across the Dnieper River in 1943, is ordered to lead his young 5-man crew on a seemingly suicidal secret mission. Der Tiger is a truly impressive war film, and it does a great job of building tension, making the viewer feel a bit claustrophobic at times as well. The acting of the entire cast here is brilliant, and although the story does follow some pretty common war movie tropes, it is definitely a great one-time watch on any streaming platform that you can find it on. At number 3, it is Raja Shivaji, a historical epic that brings the life of the 17th century warrior king and founder of the Maratha Empire, Shivaji Maharaj, to the big screen. And this film chronicles Shivaji's journey from birth to the founding of his empire and one of his first greatest epic battles. And the ensemble cast is easily the best part of this film, which I think may be the most star-studded cast in any Bollywood historical film ever created, with amazing actors like Abhishek Bachchan, Sanjay Dutt, Salman Khan, Ritesh Deshmukh, and many others starring throughout the film. But this movie does try to cover a lot of ground, so the pace here is pretty rapid, and I feel like that the first half of this film is not really all that great. But if you like Bollywood films and historical epics and have a basic understanding of Maratha history, then I definitely think you should check out Raja Shivaji. At number 2, it is Peaky Blinders: The Immortal Man, a feature-length follow-up to Stephen Knight's phenomenally popular period drama Peaky Blinders. This movie sees Cillian Murphy returning as an older but haunted Tommy Shelby who finds himself pulled back into the Birmingham gang culture amidst wartime clashes with Nazis and treacherous family betrayals. The Immortal Man is a beautiful film which benefits from the brilliant acting of Cillian Murphy, Barry Keoghan, and Rebecca Ferguson. And the movie does also have some great action-heavy sequences and violence sprinkled throughout the film as well. But the pacing of this Netflix film is atrocious, and this really would have worked better as a complete new season rather than a movie trying to squeeze everything into 2 hours worth of TV time. But overall, Peaky Blinders: The Immortal Man is a satisfying conclusion to the Peaky Blinders series, and I think any fans of the original TV show will really enjoy this final concluding film. And the top spot on this list goes to The Samurai and the Prisoner, a samurai film directed by the amazing Japanese director Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who delivers an amazingly suspenseful period mystery set during Japan's Sengoku Warring States period. This movie depicts Samurai Lord Araki Murasige, a merciful but desperate feudal lord who rebels against the brutal warlord Oda Nobunaga in 1578. Eventually, Murasige is forced to retreat to his impregnable castle, where he finds himself besieged but also locked in a castle with a secret murderer. The Samurai and the Prisoner is a slower paced film with an engaging plot, and the acting here is great as well. Unfortunately though, as is the case with a lot of international films, I feel like a lot of the dialogue and meaning gets lost in translation to subtitles. And this movie is definitely more dialogue heavy than I was expecting, with action sequences and battles occurring less frequently than one would expect. This may put off some viewers, but I didn't really mind, as I love slower paced films that really try to bring their characters to life and fill out the world. So if you love samurai movies, then be sure to check out The Samurai and the Prisoner, which in my opinion is the best historical film released between January to June of 2026. So let me know in the comments down below if there are any other great films released within the first 6 months of 2026 that I may have missed out on. And as always, if you want to stay up to date with everything to do with historical movies and historical TV shows, then subscribe to my channel History Spark, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.